Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the One of Us podcast. We're so excited to be here with you guys today. Today we're going to be talking about how to make friends in your 20s and 30s, your young adult years, some tips, some tricks, what worked for us, and just really answer all of your guys' questions on this topic. So to start us off, what would you guys say right off the bat? The first thing you can think of when I say how to make friends in your 20s, in your 30s, in these young adult years.
Start going up to people and saying, hey, I'm so-and-so. Literally just put yourself out there and just keep it casual. Keep it chill. Keep it simple.
Vic, how many friends do you have?
I
What kind of
I
question?
don't like how that
Sorry,
question is
I
phrased.
didn't mean it to come out like how many friends do you have? I meant to say like genuinely, how many good close friends do you feel like you have?
I'd say like a solid maybe 4 to 5.
That's pretty good, Vic.
And I say like I have a good range and a good amount of friends, but like friends that I'm very intimate with and that I can be vulnerable with and I love dearly and talk to regularly, 4 to 5.
Okay. Do you greet them with a holy kiss?
Negative.
All right, well, we're gonna
How
have to start.
Crystal's the only one. She's the exception. The rest of you,
Whoa. That's
You're
my
welcome.
wife.
I'll let you guys handle that on your own. Tati just lives in LA. Otherwise, she would definitely be getting greeted with one.
I have no comment on
She knows that she likes it.
Okay, so what do you guys think about people who say you're lucky if you even have 1 or 2 friends? Like you can barely count the real friends you have on your hand. What do you think about that sentiment as you get older?
I think it's true because I've noticed even like in our friend group, I can say like we still have our friend group, but a lot of them I don't talk to as consistently, or maybe in the beginning years of college, I had a lot of friends. But as college went on and after college and work, that group kind of got smaller. And I still have my friends, but for like the intimate, deep relationships, it did get smaller. And honestly, that's totally okay with me. Having one friend, two friend, it really means a lot. And being able to say like I have 4 to 5 really is a big blessing in itself.
I think like Vic said, like over time, like relationships and dynamics change. And to be able to say like you've had a friend for 5 years, a decade, even if it's like 1 or 2 years that is like consistent. So it's really a blessing to be able to say, I've had these friends for almost a decade. And even though maybe it's like what Vic's saying, maybe it's just 4 or 5, maybe it's 1 or 2, those relationships are solid and they're more like family. And I think that's all you really need. It's obviously nice to, expand people that you interact with, but to have like your mains, your OGs, like we would like to say, I think is really special and really comforting as you get older.
Yeah, I think it's cool. Like something I try to tell myself is how Jesus Christ modeled that. You know, he had 12 disciples, 12 like people who were kind of experiencing walking life with him in an intimate way. But even in that 12, he had an inner circle of people who he most likely just through chemistry, just how they interacted were much closer. And I think that's fine in groups. You know, we have a fairly large like friend group, and there's some people and some personalities that just fit better with others. So I think that's cool. But I want to ask, if I may just pivot to kind of ask about, this is kind of the conversation we're having because we have X amount of friends, and how does it look like when you have, like a true friendship. But what do you guys think is the main deterrent for people to get friends when they like move to a new city and let's say they have to start from ground zero? So how does somebody who's struggling to get friends at ground zero, like they know nobody in a new city, how do they find friends, and what do you think is like making that process hard?
I think you really have to put yourself out there. I think as you get older, it seems like it's harder generically to make those lasting friendships. And so I think if you were to move into a new city and you don't really know anyone, I think you really need to be intentional about putting yourself out there. I think you need to be the one, inviting people to things, trying to gather, planning events, like join your local church, community group, rec center, whatever that looks like. Get yourself really plugged in. Whether it looks like Bible studies or serving or whatever that looks like for you, I think you just need to hit the ground running. because a lot of times people wait for people to come to them, and that's not really realistic. So I think if you're in a new spot, just give yourself some grace and know that it might take a while. I mean, Juan and I moved to a new city. We did know some people like Victoria and, our family, but to really form relationships with other people, honestly, we've been here for 2 years now, and I think it's taken about a year and a half to really be like, okay, I got some people, so it takes a minute sometimes. Sometimes it could be a lot quicker, but just have grace for yourself as well in the journey.
Yeah, I was going to say you have to really challenge and push yourself to go to a lot of events, and sometimes you do have to take the initiation to be the one to go up to others and introduce yourself, which can be scary, but normally, like I know for me, I kind of read the room and see if things naturally happen, but yeah, it takes a lot of work to go from knowing nobody to making friends here and there. But church is definitely, for me, I would recommend the most ideal place to probably find fellowship.
Yeah, you know what's interesting is, well, I guess we're talking about making friends in your 20s. So I guess if you're in college, this somewhat might not pertain to you. Well, actually, I think it does, but I think why it's so easy to make friends when you're in your youth, grade school up until high school, is because you just have a set schedule, and a majority of people around your age in your country probably go to the same things at the same times. So you're encountering so many people, and you guys are kind of forced into this schedule. So it's kind of easy while you're doing live to interact with people, and you kind of, are put in situations where you either work for a school project or you have the same hobbies, so it's easy to make friends. But I kind of like what you guys are saying, because in college, and especially out of college, the only real interaction you'll have with other people will probably be if you work or family. So I think that individuals who, I mean, some people it comes naturally to them, like Vic, right? Vic is saying, like, naturally, I just go up to somebody and say hi. And I think those people don't really struggling making friends because they have this initiative, and maybe they just really enjoy getting to know people. But I think for people who aren't in that circle, it's difficult because now you're in this new lifestyle where no one's really pushing your schedule, and you're not really meeting new people, so it's difficult to find connection. So I really like what Tati was saying, like, if you really want to get that connection, you should probably work on motivating yourself to attend events, especially through your church, because I think that's where true fellowship could be found.
Even other churches in your local area, because you never know who you can meet and be really close to. So, okay. So I have a question. What is the most random way you've made friends?
One time, one of my best friends, Arturo, and I were like trying to play soccer at this intramural field. We didn't have a ball, so we just literally just showed up and said, "Hey, can we just play with you guys?" And it was just really random because we were playing this pickup game, and I didn't know who these people were, but we were just giving each other nicknames. So we were just referencing each other as nicknames, and that's how we kind of got connected.
Mine is like with my artist. I don't know if I told you guys this, but I met her when I was actually on my way to Vegas on a flight. The last time I went over there, we sat next to each other on a plane, and I didn't talk to her for a while, but then I just recently hit her up, and now we see each other pretty regularly. So it's been pretty cool, and she's really sweet. I love her.
That's funny you said that, because I also was going to say a plane recently. So this is not a friendship that has been fully established yet, but one that I think could form. So recently, literally about 2 weeks ago, I was on a flight, and I was talking to this woman, and we literally chatted the entire flight while everyone was dead asleep around us. And she was telling me about her children, and she was like, yeah, my daughter and my son, I think you would like really like them. And she was showing me their Instagram and everything, and I gave her my phone number, and she says, okay, I'm gonna reach out to you like in the new year so that you guys can like try to get together and stuff, because you guys like being outdoorsy, you love Disney, you love reading, because her daughter was super into like books and reading, and I was like, okay, I'm down. So I just thought that was kind of fun. To be continued. We'll check in on that later.
Can I say that, like, that's my favorite thing to do when I'm on flights, even if they're short, like the ones to Vegas. I love if I feel comfortable enough talking to the people next to me, because I feel like it really just makes the flight go by faster. Not that, like, I'm afraid of flights or anything, but sometimes sitting in those seats for a really long time just really drain you. And that's like always my favorite go-to thing to make the time kind of pass by.
And you never know who you're going to meet, like what you said. You formed a connection with is now someone that you're working with, essentially. And so I think that's special. And I would recommend someone, hey, you got to chat it up on your train, on your bus, on your airplane, if you do carpool, whatever that looks like. I think as you're in your mode of transportation, I think that's a great way to socialize.
What do you think about people who they have this unnerving fear of like, I'm afraid what people are going to think about me? Because it's easy for someone to be like, just don't care. But like, how would you help someone get over that fear to just like approach people?
Here's what I would say. I understand, I think it's natural for all of us to care a little bit about what people think. I think that's natural. But in the extent of like, you're just chatting, you're talking, is like, what I tell myself is like, if I'm talking and, the conversation goes one way or the other, or like maybe I embarrass myself a little bit, or maybe I'm like too, you know what I mean? Whatever interaction it is that I'm having is they're not going to think about this once they leave. Like, it's not that deep. Like, we're the ones that are like, oh my gosh, how did that go? How was that conversation? Should I have done more? Should I have said less? But that other person is not doing that. So that's why I kind of release myself from the bondage of like being afraid or embarrassed or really care, because I'm like, we're all just having fun here. I'm just being myself. The people who like it will like it. The people who don't won't, and it doesn't affect me. So that's, I guess, my attitude around it.
I will say I used to be one of those people back in high school where I was absolutely afraid to talk to people, make friends. In my head, I would overthink just saying hello to someone. I was like, what if I say it weird? What if they don't say it back? And then what if they want to have a conversation? What do I talk about? Dot, dot, dot. And
You
so
kind of do say hello a little funny.
Thanks, Juan. But I used to be so afraid. But when I got to college and as I've gotten older, honestly, I've kind of just let go. Where I'm like, who cares at this point? And look, I've gotten feedback, and my feedback has been consistent in my conversations, and it's usually that I come off very awkward. And you know what? I tell people I am confidently awkward. I embrace it. I don't care. It is what it is. But I'll ask people, and then I'll obviously try and work and improve on it. But honestly, who cares? If you say something weird, if something happens, forget about it. But I would say it's better to put yourself out there and to take the chance, because you might miss out on a really good friend or a really good person if you allow your fear and your worry and anxiety to get the best of you. Because if I had adopted the same attitude that I had in high school, I would not have known any of these people here. I would not have walked into the room where I met Tati. I would not have come to the small group where I met Juan. I would not have invited Crystal over to my apartment where she broke my plant and met her.
Hey, and see, this is a perfect example. If you have awkward, embarrassing, funny moments that happen when you're meeting someone new, you become more memorable. See, Vic remembered something that happened 8 years ago when she invited me over to her apartment and I broke her plant because I was dancing on accident.
There's a lot we remember about you.
But that's my point is, hey, you'll be more memorable. It'll be more fun. It'll be a mem.
I even remember the first time I met Tati, the first thing, she's like, I'm Tati and I'm Cuban. I'm like, all right. I'm Victoria. I'm white. Like, good stuff.
I'm white?
I don't know. I didn't say that, but I should have. That would have been funny. But I was like, all right.
I thought
cool.
you were like
let's just go for
25%
it.
Cherokee.
I don't know what we are, honestly. It keeps getting thrown out there. But anyway, just to tell you, everyone, honestly, just take the chance. It's better to just try, even if it does not go well. And I'll actually share a funny story if this helps to inspire anyone. I will say this was kind of my bad, and this was not my shining moment. So this was when I was about to move back to Vegas, and Juan and Crystal invited me to a young adult event. And so after church, we all went out to eat. And I was like, okay, you know what? This will be great. Like, I'll get to meet some people, I'll get to mingle. Like, I'll get a good group of people going for when I come back. Like, awesome. I love it. And there's this one girl who came over and she's like, hi, I'm so-and-so. And I was like, hi, I'm Victoria. And we get to talking. So I asked her a question like, oh, have you always been in Vegas? Or I don't know, something like that. And she said something and then started talking. And I don't know why I fixated on something that she said. And because it was cool what she said, and I was thinking about it, and I was like, oh man, I'm going to have to ask her about this. And I just started thinking and not even listening. So she talked for maybe a good like 35 seconds, and then she stopped. And then it registered, oh shoot, I didn't listen to a single thing. So I took the approach, I'm just going to be honest. So I was like, hey girl, I'm sorry. I completely zoned out. Can you say that again? And she just walked away. And I was like, okay, faux show. But here's the thing, I ended up seeing her the next week and saying hi and stuff. And we ended up talking. We've texted a couple times and we're completely good. Anytime we see each other, we always give each other a hug, ask how we're doing. So, whatever. Take a chance.
It's not that deep, you see, Vic. But this is
It's
a
not that deep.
lesson. Maybe if
Well,
you're a
I feel like, Vic-
psychologist out there, maybe you can diagnose Victoria. But
Vic, you just
just don't zone out.
you just said that you had undiagnosed ADHD.
I never said that. That's what someone else said.
Yeah, that's what the scientists think, but who believes them?
Who knows? Okay, well, since we're on the topic and I just put my embarrassing moment out there, why don't you guys share maybe one of your most awkward or embarrassing interactions with a new person? Let's inspire the people.
Oof.
Okay, this is a awkward interaction. I've done this too many times, so I'm sorry to everyone out there. But where I'll like go up to someone that I'm like just like getting to know, but I see that they have someone with them. And I'm like, "Oh, so the guy that I knew, he brought a girl with him to like a church event." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, is this your sister?" And he's like, "No, that's my girlfriend." This has happened to me too many times. Where I'm like, "Oh, the other day I was chatting and making friends with someone." And I was like, "Oh, is that your dad?" She goes, "No, that's my boyfriend." I was like, I need to stop.
No.
I need to
Crystal,
stop.
That's
there's,
funny.
There's a lesson in that. Do not assume, let them formally introduce
I don't even
that person.
try to assume, but it's like the assumption becomes truth in my head, and I'm just think I'm being nice and
Well,
asking
to be
about
fair-
their lives,
to be
and
fair-
then I get finessed.
To be fair, Tati, to your point, they never introduce them. They just say, "Oh, hi," and then like the person they're with is just awkwardly standing
I'm
behind
left
them.
to my assumptions.
You can ask. Be like, oh, who is
And-
this? How do you know XYZ?
Hey, that's what I'm
What's
saying.
your relation to one another?
And they're
Simple.
like, yeah, that's where I need to go to, but I get too excited. So that's been my recent thing that I need to chill out on. So those are some funny moments for me.
I don't know. Probably like I think the weirdest interaction I had was so I was in college and basically it was like the height of sugar babies for some reason. So I had this like classmate and like for some reason I don't know how the conversation turned to this. It was like me, this person I had the interaction with, and like 4 other people that were in my class. And like we're always together and like we're just like one day I don't know how the conversation just turned to. We're just talking about like sugar daddies and sugar babies. And they like asked for my genuine opinion. And I said, "Dang, that's kind of like really shallow. And I think if you do that, you probably just have no respect for yourself." And it turned out the person I was talking to with was actually in that. So she was like, "Well, I'm actually sugar baby." And I was like, I just kind of stood silent. So that's kind of what happened. I feel like that happens to me is like I'll catch a conversation
I would
halfway
have said,
through.
I stand by what I say.
Well, it's like I catch the conversation halfway through and then I'm straight up honest. And then it turns out that I'm being honest about someone in front of me. So I need to work on my delivery.
You're like, I said what I said.
Honestly, Juan, yeah, you have done that a couple times, but it's really funny sometimes too. It's funny if it's around people who know you. It's even more funny watching you do it to someone who doesn't know you, and then we have to explain to them afterwards.
I didn't listen, okay? So where do you guys think like people can make friends in church? Because I hear a lot of people say they go to church, they attend their, youth group, and they attend their young adults and they don't really connect with anybody. How can someone really motivate themselves and connect?
I know for me, when I started going to my young adults, I had to really push myself to introduce myself to everybody. But I think if the churches also offer life groups, it's also a good opportunity to meet other people. So, yeah. And then if you don't feel like that church is providing you with the community that you're looking for, it is always okay to go look elsewhere. Some other churches might have what you're looking for.
My best go-to advice for anyone looking for community is to be a trailblazer. And what I mean by that is like if you want more friends who I don't know, like square dancing, then tell your church that you want to share fellowship and that you're hosting kind of this fellowship night. Just like be the leader. I don't know how to explain it. Like kind of set the tone, try to create that environment. I think too many Christians kind of sit back and complain and don't really take responsibility of trying to build that community for themselves. I agree with Tati, like if you're in a community and it's just ain't working, like don't overstay or feel like you're obligated to somebody or something. But I'll just encourage people to just really take initiative to do their best and start that community that they want.
And on that note, something that people did at our church that I thought was really cool is they were flat out honest. They started different like life groups, fellowship nights, Bible studies for specific things. So someone I know really loved playing pickleball, and they're like, I would love to fellowship with other people doing what I already do in my week, and created a group of people that they'd play pickleball together, and then maybe they'd like read a verse, meditate on something together, or just fellowship in community. Somebody else said, hey, I'm a newlywed wife and I really want to make other newlywed wife friends. So I'm going to start a Bible study for newlywed wives where we can gather every week and go through this book together and chat and talk and meet at different coffee shops and just create friendships. And I think the more you do that, whatever it is, whatever your thing is or the season in life that you're in, you'll find people. There was someone else that did a group for stay-at-home moms. There was someone else that did a group for, what was it? Some other like sporting events, golf. There was a golf one or random things. So you can really, depending on what you like to do. Oh, another one. Juan attended one of these. It was a D&D group where they played Dungeons and Dragons.
Don't expose me.
But it was also like kind of like a Bible study thing. So it depends what you're looking for. Just a way to gather, just start hosting things and people will show up. And the more you do that, the more people you'll meet and you'll start to have a really good community, a basis to start in to make more intimate relationships.
I love that because I feel like that's something I really learned this year is be the change that you want to see. And I've implemented similar things in some of the churches I've attended. Like one of them, we did this like cross-generational event. I always think it's important not only to be with people in your age group, but people even older than you to get some wisdom and guidance, and then younger so you can also like help and guide. And they still do the event, which is really nice, where basically the young adults have like a social event with the older seniors. I will say that I don't know if all churches will be as open to that, but if your church doesn't allow, I guess, new ministries that God has placed in your heart, then maybe try to seek another church. Because I think if the goal is fellowship and to grow with one another, it definitely should be an option.
What are some other ways? Like, church, I think, is my number one answer to this question about how to build relationships and friendships in your young adult 20s, 30s, those years of your life. Because I just think it's like, it's honestly convenient, it's nice, and you meet like-minded people. What are some other ways? I know we talked a little bit about plane rides. What are some other ways to build community during these seasons that maybe isn't as clear cut as at church?
I would say I've actually made quite a few really good friendships through work. So back when I was in Reno, I was working at a preschool and I was working with a friend who I'm still friends with today, Cassandra. We just talked last week actually, and we're planning on, going on a cruise this summer. But I met her through work and it was interesting because at first we weren't too sure, but the more we started working and just talking, because we spent so much time together, each and every day, and we really were working together and, it was a full partnership. We really became good friends and started hanging out outside of work, and like I said, we're planning a trip together, and so that's been really wonderful. And now that I'm back in Vegas, I can say that the coworker I have now has become a really good friend. We talk a lot. It's a little different to to hang out with her just because she is a mom, and it's a little bit busier for her and stuff. But we've made plans because apparently she loves dancing, and so we're trying to get something set up where her and I can go to Stony's one night and go line dancing and stuff. But I would say work is also another great opportunity. I've met some really amazing people, and I don't know, you just Gotta put yourself out there too and take a chance. I know sometimes people go to work and just to go to work and come home, but there's a really good opportunity for community and fellowship there too.
Yeah, I would completely agree with that. It's like take that opportunity of people that you're going to see for 8 hours a day and get to know them as people and what makes them tick in their lives. I know there are some positions or jobs where you have to be super focused on the task at hand, but if you're able to just have other conversations about just real life things and get to know them on a deeper level, I think that's a great opportunity. So I'd say all in all, like our advice to you guys would be to really put yourself out there, be a trailblazer, be a leader, start something new, be the change you want to see, and just really take advantage of the little moments. Like, even if it's just the people at Trader Joe's, honestly, they're so nice to talk to. You can make a friend out of one of them. Like, they're so sweet. So, just if you're introverted, push yourself a little more. If you're extroverted, go out there and keep doing it. I think that's what we would say.
And I'm going to say it is time to move on to hot take time with Tati. Tati, you know the drill. Take it away.
Okay, so we have 3 hot takes today. One of them, you don't have to be equally yoked with your friends. That's for marriage.
Debatable. I'd guess okay, this is what I think. Yes, that is correct. You shouldn't be friends with non-believers. But this is what I'm saying before I catch some heat, because I normally catch some heat. What I'm saying is that verse kind of deals also with spheres of influence. So it's kind of saying like, if you have spheres of influence with people who don't really pursue the Lord, then more likely than not, they're going to make you compromise on your faith. So does that really play a big role in marriage? Of course, because like if you're marrying someone who's going to be like your best friend and you're going to be one with and they don't really pursue God, then of course you're going to compromise. Of course you're going to meet them at where they're at. So I guess for being really literal, yeah, you probably can't be friends with non-believers in that sense. Like they shouldn't have influence over your life. But I do think you can share your life with others. I mean, that's what we ought to do as Christians to show the light and salt of the word.
Yeah, I think it's different relationships. Like with people who don't know the Lord, I think it's more like you can be friends with them and do life with them, but there is an element of like you are trying to minister to them, you are trying to love them and possibly disciple them, or at least just live your life as a testimony to who God is, because they'll never fully understand you or know you. And that's not trying to be any type of way, it's just the truth, which is why I think your core people, like what Jesus had, like his core 3 people, even amongst his disciples, like those people naturally will be people that share the same faith as you, because you need people in life that are going to push you towards God, who are going to sharpen you, who are going to encourage you, who are going to rebuke you, who are going to do all of these things as iron sharpens iron. And the only people that can do that are people of faith. So I would agree in the terms of those close friendships. And obviously it's the same for romantic relationships as well.
Okay, moving on. You don't need to attend the same church to be close.
Close to who? To your friends?
Yeah.
I would agree. I think going to the same church adds a certain type of closeness, and I might be biased just because I go to the same church as Juan and Crystal, and after church and after church, you know, we go out to eat and sometimes go hang out at like Juan and Crystal's place and play games or just hang out and all that stuff. So there's a certain element, and I'm not saying like if I went to a different church or if they went to a different one, we couldn't still do that. I just think it adds a little more closeness, but I think that if we went to different churches, it wouldn't take away.
I agree. I think it is cool to go to the same church, but I mean, Tati and I guess we're also in different cities, but I don't think it affects going to different churches. I know I have friends that when they come to Vegas from out of town, like they attend different churches, and it doesn't affect our relationship because our relationship isn't built on being church friends. It's just being like Jesus friends. But yeah, I think it is cool to like go to the same church if you can. But if not, I think everyone's free to like choose where they want to call home for theological reasons, fellowship reasons, things like that.
Okay. Last but not least, it's okay to prioritize non-Christian friends.
Define prioritize.
Like if they're going through something, you're going to be there for them. If you have like prior meeting, engagements with other people, I don't know, spending more time with them.
I feel like I like these hot takes for today because I feel like they're complex because they need complex answers. But I think if you have any person near you who's struggling and you have an ability to help and support them, you should. But I think as a Christian, you should always be aware that people are looking at you as a representative of Christ, right? An ambassador. So I feel like whatever you do, like if you have this non-believing friend or family member who is in a lot of need of you because maybe God strategically placed you in their life, that you would just be aware, like, hey, I'm right now their closest point of contact towards Christ. Like, am I gonna encourage them into the light or encourage them into the world? So I feel like to get a plain answer is, yeah, I think it's okay. Just, I think you shouldn't prioritize, I guess, wanting to fit in. That's where I feel like it goes downhill.
I agree. I think it depends. I feel like some people might have some struggles with like having, I don't like calling them secular friends, but secular friends. I don't feel like my secular relationships really push me away from God. So I think I can handle it a lot more. Like I'm very firm on a lot of my beliefs, and they know that. Like I make that clear. So yeah, I think for me, as long as like they kind of, it's mutual respect, should always be selfless. I always see relationship with non-believers as, hey, like I'm being a representative of Christ. How can I show up today and show them the love of Christ and what, how God shows us love every day?
Yeah, because I was going to say there's a purpose to everything that we do. There should be a purpose to everything that we do. And in that sense, what is the purpose, right? In that sense, your purpose would be what you're saying, Tati, like ministry, testimony, that's your purpose in that sense. Whereas your purpose in a friendship with someone of your faith background going at the same speed and level that you are is more of like a biblical purpose of like, hey, we're going to be each other's like community, we're going to push each other, we're going to do this life together. So it's like different purposes, right? But both are valuable.
Like Juan said, those were really phenomenal hot takes, and I hope that those listening also thought so. And if you guys have any thoughts or things you want to add them. But unfortunately, the episode must come to an end. But don't worry, because we'll be back with another episode next week for you guys. Until then, stay tuned. We're praying for you guys. Please be safe and go make some new friends. And when you make one, put one in the comments below because we'd love to hear about it. But have an amazing week, everyone. Bye.